Hey everyone, it's Tony with your September 2025 real estate market update. We are getting ready to head into the fourth quarter of the year. So I wanted to take a second and just kind of break down where things have been going over the past month, how this year's been shaping up, and what I think we can expect for the next 3 months going into 2026. Now, I've got some information here. I'm going to be breaking down condos and single families, and primarily just for the Lakeview and Lincoln Park markets. So let's start with pricing. This year, prices have generally been up, but different paces depending on where you have been looking. Lincoln Park and Lakeview, specifically the 60657 area of Lakeview, so like Lakeview East-ish, really strong gains, almost 10%, 9% gains in median price over the past year, while the 60613, so that's like the north side of Lakeview and parts of Buena Park, slower growth, around 1 to 2% growth. Month over month, prices have been pretty flat. A lot of the gains have been coming from the earlier parts of the year, and much of the gains is coming specifically from Lincoln Park single-family homes. There's been a lot of demand for Lincoln Park single-family homes, while the just like the sheer inventory of condos has, kind of held things steady there. There have been a lot more condos hitting the market. And especially with some of the condos in these areas having special assessments coming up for elevator projects, plumbing risers, it's given a lot of pause. Plus the higher HOA fees, things have been moving a lot slower there. So even though there is still some growth, it's not nearly as strong as other parts of the city. So moving on to inventory, a little supply and demand stuff. Inventory is still super low. We've been having inventory issues all over the place, but it is higher than it was last year, and it is a little bit higher than it has been earlier in the year. Now, we're still way below pre-pandemic. I said low, way below. We are still way below pre-pandemic or even like early pandemic inventory levels. So we're still super low. We have an absolute inventory crisis on our hands, but buyer demand's definitely been softer, which has kind of tempered it. But in Lincoln Park, there are about 200 active listings right now. And in Lakeview, there's about 300. Lakeview is a much bigger neighborhood than Lincoln Park. So it is pretty, in terms of like pound for pound, pretty similar in terms of listing. Both have really, both of their inventory charts look like this over the past 5 years. But there is a little bit more inventory in Lakeview, but most of it is, like I said, in the high-rise condo markets. So what does that mean for you? Well, if you are a seller, it means that you have the upper hand. We've definitely been in a seller's market, and we continue to be in a seller's market, especially for well-priced, move-in ready homes. Most buyers do not really want to do any sort of work. I make a joke, it's not even really a joke, that buyers will pass up a place because they don't like the paint color, but it's an absolute reality in today's market. Now, if you're a buyer, you have a little bit more leverage than you did in 2021 and 2022. Even though we still have super low inventory, there is less demand. Like I said, there are fewer buyers in the pool. Interest rates have been coming down over the past 3 years, and we just hit a point in the year where, for a brief period of time, they touched the lowest level interest rates have been in the past 3 years. So there is some room. Not only that, we've been seeing more situations where buyers are getting things for not even just below list price, but like significantly below list price. So there's opportunity, especially for an aggressive and savvy buyer. Not so much for move-in ready, turnkey, beautiful condos, but like if you're willing to put in a little bit of elbow grease, you can have an awesome property. So moving on to speed and competition, things are still selling pretty quickly. Right now, on average, things are selling in about 5 to 6 weeks, regardless of which neighborhood you're in. And that is just the average. There's obviously plenty of things selling immediately, like within the first week, and you do have things that are sitting. And it really comes down to condition of the property. Condition's been such a huge point for this entire year. How good is a property going to show? It's going to be a huge factor. There's still about half of all the sales happening are going to go over list price right now in Lakeview. In Lakeview, 6657, about 57% of the homes that sold over at list price. In Lakeview, 51% of the homes sold over list price, and in 60613, the other half of Lakeview, about half the homes are selling for over list price. So yeah, multiple offers are still happening, especially on these high quality listings. There's a lot of demand, but the difference now is that not every home is going to get a bidding war, and that's where the opportunity is. So if it's overpriced or needs a little bit of work, that's opportunity for buyers, and that's also a huge pitfall to avoid for sellers not falling into that trap of let's ask for it. They can always negotiate it down. You don't want them to negotiate down because they're going to come in and rip your face off. So what do we expect for the rest of the year? How are we expecting to go into Q4 2025? Well, I expect the typical fall and winter slowdown. We have about one more really good month of activity. So if you are thinking about selling, like you got about a month to get it on the market. And after that, we like to say that it's only the people that are really motivated that are going to sell in those winter months. November and December, very slow. They get progressively slower and slower until the new year starts. We kind of, start to feel that uptrend again. But, nothing dramatic. It's just typical seasonality. We're going into the fourth quarter, the first month of this quarter. So, next month, this is pretty much it. If you want to transact in 2025, you've got October. The bigger picture is stability. Zillow and all the other forecast models are kind of expecting us to have about a 1% growth over the next 12 months. So from now till next fall. I don't know how I feel about that. Unless there's a significant change in inventory, I think we'll actually see a much stronger. We've been seeing plus 5% growth in these neighborhoods for about 5 years. And I don't know if that's going to change. And especially if interest rates continue to trend down, we've been seeing more buyers enter this market. So even though inventory has been peaking up a little bit, buyer activity has also been coinciding pretty significantly. And if we do see rates come down meaningfully into the mid fives, I think it'll be, truthfully, I think it'll be back to pandemic level pandemonium. So if you're a buyer, Q4 2025 could be an excellent opportunity for you. And, myself, I bought multiple properties. Almost all of them have been in the winters because this is just when you're going to get better pricing. If you're a seller, you could still sell for a very strong price. But like I said, I would either do it now in October, or I would probably just wait till the spring and capitalize on that spring market. So that's my September 2025 market update. I hope you enjoyed it. In short, prices are up compared to last year. They're starting to level out, and typical seasonality, the market will get softer before it picks back up again in the spring. So if you're thinking about buying or selling in Chicago either this year or you want to start talking about next year, hit the link down in the description to put some time on my calendar. I would love to talk to you. And I hope you enjoyed it. Drop a comment and let's pick this conversation up later.